Young Thug's been writing new music within jail. Sadly, this new music revealed his true thoughts about his time in his jail cell. While freestyling over a phone call to his nephew, Young Thug revealed he's having very upsetting thoughts about his life. It's no secret that sitting in a jail cell could break anyone's spirits, but it also doesn't help that at his last court hearing, he was once again denied bond. He also found out members in YSL are now snitching on him as well. Here's the footage from his last court hearing.
He's the one directing traffic. He is the one they're all afraid of. He's the one that's King Slime. He is the most dangerous of the 28, Judge. And I implore you not to grant him a bond. He is dangerous. If he gets a burner, Judge, and the court may know this, a lot of the communications that Mr. Williams is on FaceTime because it's not traceable, it's not trackable. Judge, I will also say that we have taken proffers from fellow from Mr. Williams. Some are on this indictment, some are not. They have stated uniformly that Mr. Williams is dangerous. They are afraid of him, that if they cross him, he will them and their family. And they were very clear about that.
Concerns that this court has is danger to persons and to intimidate other witnesses and obstruct the administration of justice. So and for those reasons in the aggregate, I'm going to deny bond at this time.
Now, shortly after this bond hearing, Young Thug did an interview while in jail. This was also played at a concert in Atlanta. During his court hearing, Young Thug and his lawyers were trying everything to get him released on bond. As I mentioned, he was once again denied. It was announced that Young Thug and his YSL associates are responsible for over 50 passings of rival street members, with active firearm use in the public. The Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis spoke with the local Atlanta news, adding the indictment reportedly included allegations of 3 passings and dozens more that Young Thug had close connection with. One passing has been identified as Donovan Thomas, as Young Thug is accused of renting the 2014 Infiniti Q50 sedan from Hertz that was used in the Thomas passing. They added, Thomas's passing is extremely significant. Willis said it occurred back in 2015, and what myself and any law enforcement member can tell you, as a result of the back and forth firearm use, many passings have occurred. It has probably been about 50 since 2015. This is from the back and forth between YSL versus other street teams. Now, there's 3 main reasons why Young Thug will never be released on bond. This was highlighted during the court hearing, and the first reason is how Young Thug runs his operation. Now, during the hearing, it was revealed by YSL members that snitched on Young Thug that he is the head of the organization. Young Thug would often purchase used iPhones in bulk, and he would use these as burner phones. Young Thug would delete all apps within the phone, only leaving FaceTime on it. He would then use these phones to FaceTime his troops to handle business, whether it was on the streets, whether it was narcotic related, or even going after rival street members. Now, when using FaceTime, it's impossible for law enforcement and cell phone providers to tap the phones and listen in on phone calls. It was revealed in court that FaceTime is often used by street members, and there's no trace of what is said in these phone calls anywhere. These same members of YSL that were snitching also mentioned that Young Thug is very dangerous. If you cross him, he will get you and your family for revenge. The second reason why prosecutors say Young Thug should not receive bond is during the YSL mansion raid, where Young Thug is living and would live if released on bond, has GTA type firearms found within the household. Allegedly, firearms that were found inside the YSL mansion are so rare, law enforcement don't even know how he would have gotten them. Allegedly, there was several firearms found taped to side of the walls in the attic. They were stored under the couches, as well as in the basement. Here's footage from the YSL mansion raid. So releasing Young Thug back into that environment where he can be near firearms would obviously not be ideal for a RICO case. This then leads us into the third reason. Young Thug should allegedly never be released on bond due to him having access to his iPhone burners. The prosecutors fear that if Young Thug was released back into the streets, he probably has some iPhones stored and hid away within his mansion that he would be able to get in contact with. They also fear that if he was to obtain one of his burner iPhones, then he can set up some sort of thing to happen to these YSL members that are now snitching. That way that they can no longer give more information on Thug and the entire YSL crew. Now they also use this to their advantage against Young Thug, telling the judge they cannot allow the leader of YSL to be near firearms or even social media. Now an example of this is when the prosecution in the Young Thug RICO case announced they have proffers from YSL members that name Young Thug the head of the organization. We ended up seeing No Jumper reveal this new statement on the case. A YSL member was caught on an illegal cell phone trying to get someone on the outside to destroy evidence in the Young Thug RICO case. The prosecution highlighted that even with Young Thug behind bars with no access to the media, he can still control YSL members to delete evidence, get people to stop snitching, or even go after street members that are rivals. Now obviously Young Thug isn't directing any of this, it's just loyal YSL members trying to help in the case. But sadly, it was also revealed during the court hearing, probably the most concerning piece of evidence within this entire case. Now during the hearing, this piece of evidence was revealed. Garlington and Quantavius did unlawfully commit the felony offense of conspiracy to possess telecommunication devices by an inmate. While speaking over a cell phone to an incarcerated Fulton County Jail inmate, they discussed a plan to fly a drone carrying cell phones beyond the guard lines to a window at the Fulton County Jail. This same cell phone that was delivered to a YSL member at the Fulton County Jail is the same cell phone that a YSL member asked Young Thug to go after YFN Lucci. Now while they didn't share Young Thug's answer to the YSL member, it's no secret that 2 weeks after that date, YFN Lucci was actually ran up on inside of jail. He was caught lacking in his jail cell while 2 members of allegedly YSL ran up in his cell and went after him. YFN Lucci was then quickly transferred jails, but it still was not mentioned who caught him lacking. But this piece of evidence almost makes it seem as if Young Thug gave the green light to these 2 members to do so. And law enforcement got all of this evidence from a super secret tactic that they used. The drone that we just spoke about earlier, law enforcement actually watched the drone fly over the fence and drop the phone off at a window. Instead of intercepting the drone and getting the cell phone, law enforcement actually allowed the phone to be delivered. Instead of confiscating it, law enforcement just tapped the phone. That way they can gain information on people's cases, and it was just so happened that this cell phone was delivered to a YSL inmate. Now typically when a huge piece of evidence like this is dropped at a court hearing, the court hearing for the day will be ended. That way the defense and the prosecution can go home and build up a case around the new pieces of evidence. So it was very obvious that Young Thug and Gunna were in a very terrible state within this RICO case. Now this is when we saw Gunna, being one of the 28 members of YSL arrested with Young Thug, go on to say on Instagram, "2022 has been one of the best years of my life. Despite this difficult situation, this year I had the whole world pushing P. I used my art form, my gift from God, to change my circumstance. I worked, I perfected my craft. I worked, I empowered women in the industry. I worked, I lived in the recording studio. I worked, I lived on the road, I worked, and I worked every day to show God how grateful I am for this gift, for my art, and for my life, and to be able to provide for my loved ones. Right now, I don't have my freedom, but I am innocent. I am being falsely accused and will never stop fighting to clear my name." Now obviously Gunna is still in great spirits, which he should be. It's just sadly that Young Thug is going through a lot more than Gunna is, as revealed during his jail freestyle with his nephew that I shared earlier. If you want Young Thug and Gunna to beat the case, leave a like on the video. I'm curious how many fans are watching today. Anyways, it's been District Trending and I'm out. Peace.